My guest at this time could be seen tonight on a very special Tuesday episode of AEW Dynamite taking on Scorpio Sky. It is Benjamin Carter. Ben, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Cheers, mate. Good to be here.
Yeah, no problem, man. By the way, before we get to all of this, I had the luxury of getting to call you and Brian Cage at Warrior Wrestling this past weekend, and what a fantastic bout that was. What was it like for you to get to step in the ring there with the Swolverine?
Yeah. So, my first thought was he's going to throw me around a lot.
Yes.
So I've got to be prepared for that. And luckily I was. But obviously you're in there with a guy like Brian Cage, and, he's such a big name. He's such a big human being as well. So, you got to bring the fight. And I'd like to think that I did that, and I'm really happy with it. Didn't get the win, but, I had a good showing. So that's all I can really ask for against a guy like him.
Man, just like a dream bout to see you guys right here in your prime, just going at it. It was awesome, man. Well, anyway, you got a lot going on here, Ben. But for those that don't know you, can you explain who you are a little bit? Can you tell people a little bit about your backstory? Obviously, you've got that funny accent there, funny to me. Yeah, what's your deal here, Ben?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Jersey. It's the old Jersey. It's where New Jersey gets its name from. We're like a little island in between England and France. We're actually closer to France than we are England, but we're technically in the UK, hence the funny accent. I played soccer all my life. And, when it came time to graduate from high school, I was like, I really want to wrestle. So I wanted to get out to the States because at this point the UK scene hadn't really blown up yet. So I was like, where do I have to be to wrestle? The US, right? It's the pro wrestling capital of the world. So I was able to get a good soccer scholarship, which was kind of my foot in the door at university in Tennessee. And basically I would wrestle whenever I wasn't playing soccer behind my coach's back, and I'd wrestle as much as possible. And everything that I've kind of done in those few years in college has kind of led me up to this point. So here I am.
So when you were training, did you immediately start then at the Black and Brave Academy? Is that where you went, or did you do some training before winding up there?
So there was one little promotion in my little island of Jersey. The island's tiny. It's 9 miles by 5 miles.
By the way, I didn't know that there was. I've heard New Jersey. I had never until this moment thought, well, there's got to be an other Jersey. You can't have a New Jersey.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. So there was one promotion in that little island, and they'd run maybe once every 3-4 months. So it was all very sporadic, and training was not very regular at all. But I was able to get inside a wrestling ring for the first time at the age of 16. But the first kind of 2 years of me being in the States, I didn't really wrestle much because I didn't really know how independent wrestling worked or how to really get into it. I was able to wrestle a little bit, but again, it was kind of sporadic. But it got to a point where I was like, I need to wrestle on a regular basis, and I need to get proper professional training. So I thought, what better school than Black and Brave, right? Run by Seth Rollins and Merrick Brave. So I asked my parents, I was like, can I actually do this? And they were like, sure, go ahead.
You asked your parents permission? Were you worried that they were going to stress about you getting hurt or something like that?
Well, yeah, I'd already kind of said to them, before I went out to America, listen, I want to be a pro wrestler. It was kind of like a coming out party, except it wasn't. It was more to just be like, this, I don't care what you think. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I hope you guys support me. And they were totally like, okay, sure. So yeah, obviously there's a fee involved in training, which I couldn't provide for myself. So I had to be like, can I please do this? And they've been so supportive of me chasing my dream. So I can't say enough good things about that, and just the experience at the school in general.
Wow. Well, yeah. So talk to me here about the Black and Brave Academy. How hands-on is Seth Rollins and Merrick Brave when it comes to training you and making you into wrestlers?
Yeah, they absolutely do not just slap a name on the school and that's it. They're very involved with everything. And that was something that really was very cool, being a part of the training program, because there was those kind of queries of how involved was was Rollins in particular going to be, with
Yeah.
his schedule. But I think he missed like the first 2 weeks because he was in Saudi Arabia on a European tour. And then the rest of the 10 weeks, he didn't miss a single training session. So, you
Wow.
know, it's just, it still doesn't feel real to me that I get to be under those guys' learning tree and like I could hit them up at literally like any point for advice or, you know, even to work out with. Like it's great. I can't say enough good things about it.
So, what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned from Seth? I mean, and Merrick as well. I know it's like everybody wants to be like, well, what do you learn from Seth? But Merrick's also obviously very, very good. But Seth's very, very
Yeah, yeah. Anything that Seth will tell you, Merrick will tell you, and then some. Merrick's got just such a good brain for the business. The biggest thing that I learned from being at the school, which I think that like you'll find it tough to find somewhere else in the country that gives you that kind of insight, is the psychology behind wrestling. I look at the matches that I had before I graduated from Black and Brave and after, and my God, it's like night and day in terms of like things making sense and and as I said, the psychology behind it. So I think that's the biggest takeaway that I've had from it. I feel like so much more of a complete performer rather than just a guy that can do, flippy stuff.
insane things. You do some crazy stuff, Ben. I will go so far as to say some crazy shit. You do some wild stuff in that ring. A lot of people would maybe compare you to a Pac or a Will Ospreay or something like that. When you're training, because it's interesting you say you had a soccer background, because a lot of the guys that I hear that do this kind of stuff were like more like gymnasts and stuff. Like, at what point did you realize that you were capable of doing a lot of these crazier things that a lot of wrestlers cannot do?
I don't know. I've always kind of been like an athletic person, um, but I think being in a wrestling ring and just like trying stuff out, I was kind of just like, I was so excited to be in a wrestling ring, so I just wanted to try all the crazy things that I've seen, and luckily, I was like, kind of had no fear in trying most of these things. So and you know ended up doing it, and it's so much fun, man. But the thing is, I mean, I think the most kind of impressive thing about me isn't necessarily like the flippy stuff or like the crazy things. It's kind of the combination of the really cool stuff and kind of like the emotion that I try and like bring to my matches. And that's again one thing that I've learned to kind of um try and master from being at the school. So I mean, like,
Man.
I just love wrestling, man. I just think it's a perfect kind of marriage of everything that I bring to the table.
Yeah. Do you have any funny Seth Rollins stories you want to share before we I can brave anything hilarious that like comes to mind when you think about training under Seth?
um, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to kind of pinpoint one. I just think, you know, I think his reactions to things are pretty funny. He's got like the laugh that like is synonymous with him, and like I don't know, just kind of some of the reactions that he has to certain things that goes on is pretty funny. But I can't really think off the top of my head kind of one thing.
Well, obviously, you're doing stuff here with AEW, but I mean, with the work you're doing, you look especially what Seth's doing over there with Buddy Murphy. I think you guys would play very well together, in that capacity. Um,
Hey, I'd be lying if I said I hadn't thought about that a couple times, but I don't know. You don't know what the future holds.
yeah. Well, on that note, we know a little bit. We know tonight there's going to be this big AEW Dynamite bout between you and Scorpio Sky. But before we get to that, who reached out to you about bringing you into AEW? How did these AEW appearances come together for you?
So it was kind of weird. It kind of just like came out of nowhere. I think I did the GCW Jersey Shore show in late July, and it was actually like Britt Baker who had like, she said she was like bored in quarantine, was checking out the GCW show. She's seen some of my stuff on Twitter and like obviously watching the show, and she followed me on my social medias, and apparently she had like been like, oh wow, this guy is pretty good. Let me show Tony Khan his stuff. So she literally showed Tony Khan, and Tony Khan was like, yeah, let's bring him in. And then I got a message from Christopher Daniels on Twitter a few days later, and I was like, what the hell? Like this is
What's
like
happening?
it was very much like I literally can't believe it. Like I'm trying to pinch myself, you know. So it all happened just completely out of the blue. So I've got Britt Baker to thank for a lot of it, and obviously I'm a huge fan of hers to begin with. So it was very cool, you know,
Yeah.
that ended up being the case.
And for you, man, like, going all the way from overseas, coming here, following your dream, what was it like for you to walk into that AEW locker room? How was that experience of just being there and around all these top talents?
Oh man, like I mean, words kind of like don't do it justice. It's crazy, you know, being from such a small place where people don't necessarily like get out of the island to begin with, and now I'm like, you know, 4 years removed from leaving my little island of Jersey. Here I am, like wrestling on AEW, seeing my name on a big screen. It was like it's still I won't be able to wrap my head around how cool that is. Like even now, like it's crazy, and I can't wait for everyone to check out me and Scorpio. I'm gonna bring the fight to him as well. If anyone thinks this is gonna be just a quick one, they're in for a shock because I'm gonna bring the fight to him.
Yeah, man. And well, before we get to Scorpio here, the one that really grabbed people is you and Ricky Starks main eventing AEW Dark, just tore the house down. What was it? What were you feeling going into that match, knowing that so many eyeballs were going to be on you there, and how much it would likely impact your time at AEW, depending on how that bout went?
Yeah, so like I was considering the circumstances, yes, I was like very nervous, but like I was surprisingly calm because I knew kind of if I just went out there and nothing went wrong, then I know I'll be in a good spot because I have faith in my ability. But it's like Britt Baker was like, "Hey, you can't make me look bad now." I was like, "All right, God damn it, I'll try not to, no pressure." But I kind of have learned from my experience there that I guess I kind of like thrive off the pressure. So, I luckily I didn't fold, and I had a good showing. So I was really happy with it.
Man, you don't want to mess with Britt. You saw that tooth and nail match, man. She'll stab you with
I
like a
I
syringe.
did, man. You don't want to get on her bad side.
That's pretty of all the people to do like the old German death match spot of like syringes. I didn't peg
Yeah.
Britt Baker, you know? It's,
Yeah. When like the needle went in, I was like, "Oh my god!" What?
that was
Yeah,
gross.
it's crazy.
You hang out with those GCW guys. You got any interest in deathmatch wrestling? Or are you like that's not your gym?
So it's funny that you say that. I was having a conversation with my buddies literally about like a week ago about this, and like we used to like watch all like the death matches, primarily like freedoms in GCW, and we'd be like, oh yeah, you know what, I'd probably do one under the right circumstances, just as like a bucket list kind of thing. And I was like wrestling on like the Jersey show in GCW in late July, and I remember being on the outside, kind of like selling, and there was like glass on the floor, like little pieces of glass that were there from like the match before, and I accidentally like put my thumb in a piece of glass, and it bloody traumatized me. I was like, oh my god. So I was like, at that very point, I was like, am I doing a death match? Like ever? No, like, that's never gonna happen. Like I have so much respect for people that do it, but I could never do it. I ain't cut out for that, man. I'll just stick to normal wrestling.
Dude, thank you for being honest because I'm the same way, man. Like I respect those guys, but like that's a different breed of cat right there. That's
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
you know.
I honestly thought that like maybe I'd be able to handle it, but after that experience, I was like, who am I kidding?
So yeah, tonight you and Scorpio Sky, man, like talk about climbing the ladder real quickly here. I was very surprised to see you on the lineup here because a lot of the non-signed AEW talent outside of like the guys that were doing the Cody Rhodes TNT Open Challenge type deal, they don't make it past dark onto Dynamite. Like, what does it mean to you to be included on the main card here and getting to be seen by maybe 1 million people here on Tuesday night?
Yeah, so like I remember rocking up to the thing, expecting to be like, okay, Ben Carter Dark against like this person, and then it was like versus Scorpio Sky, and it said like TV special, and I was like, what is this, like a mistake? Like what? Like what's going on? Like, so, you know, I just think that's crazy. You know, I'm glad that they like have the faith in me to go out there on national television and put on a show, which I fully intend on doing. Um, like literally, like words can't describe how cool that is. Just the prospect of like airing, like it's airing like right after the NBA playoffs. Like Jericho, Jim Ross is going to be on commentary. Like I'm freaking out, but in a good way. Like it's going to be a lot of fun, and you know, I'm just as shocked as anyone, to be honest.
So what's the future holding for you, Ben? We'll close it here saying, you know, looking down the road with AEW, obviously things look bright. Is there talk about keeping you around much longer? Are you going to maybe use this to leverage a deal somewhere else? Like, how are you feeling right now? What's the next steps for you?
So, if I'm perfectly honest, I haven't a clue. No clue. Like, you know, I think whatever comes next, I think, you know, it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be all kind of like all that I've ever really wanted. It's all been just such a crazy experience. But in terms of what comes next, man, I can't really disclose anything because I don't know. So I
Gotcha.
guess you guys will have to. I guess you guys will have to stay tuned.
Have you had any chance to chat with Tony Khan? I would imagine after your match, like, is there any kind of notes or anything that he gave you? What was it like to work with Tony?
Tony's great. Tony is like so easy to talk to, and it's crazy that he's like the equivalent of like Vince for like AEW. He's like so accessible, and like, you know, obviously like, I'm a soccer fan, and he owns Fulham Football Club. So I'm out here just randomly just having like a soccer chat with him about like players that he signed, like congratulating him on players, and like talking about like my team versus his team, and like he was giving me some like proper cool insight. Yeah, so he's like so so easy to talk to. I can't say enough good words about him as well. So, you
Man,
know, he's great.
I'm just some dumb American. I didn't even think about the soccer connection. Yeah,
I
I bet he loves you. I bet he's a fan. So you kind of cross at all the right points there. Well, Ben, I want to thank you so much for the time. I'm very happy to see how well you're doing in the business. Is there anything that you want to plug, promote, put over here before we wrap up the interview today?
I guess I'll plug my social medias. My Instagram is at Benjamin Carter BXB, and on Twitter it's at Ben Carter BXB because they don't allow that many characters for Twitter. It's kind of annoying, but it is what it is.
Sure.
And I've also got a limited amount of shirts that I had ages ago that I'm trying to get rid of. So if you wanna buy a shirt, just DM me. I'm sure we can work something out. And other than that, just stay tuned for tonight. You know, I fully intend on going out there and you know, giving Scorpio a run for his money. So I hope you guys tune in and let me know what you think.